All right, so this is a video on how to make your family pedigree. First thing you need to do is open up a browser. I'm using Mozilla. You can use Internet Explorer. And we're going to type in the address, any URL, CXP7, URL found in the handout that I gave to you a couple days ago. And then you just hit enter. And it should take you. It'll redirect you to this. And so this is a PowerPoint, but you need to download this to your own user drive. So you need to go over to File, go down to Download. You'll get this window to pop up. If it's on Save File, I'd like you to select Open With and click OK. And it will open up Microsoft PowerPoint. And here are your two slides that you can work with. And before you start doing any work on this, I want you to save this file as your own. Save as. You're going to go along the side here, and you're going to choose your user drive. You'll have your student ID number. I think it'll probably be the W drive as well. So you select that, put it into a folder, create a folder for biology class, and then you name this however you want to name it. Click Save. Now you're ready to do work with this. And anytime I would say maybe every 10 minutes or so, go up and just click the save, and that will save your current work onto your own user drive, so that when you come into the lab again to work on this or access this file, it'll be there for you. So we can do lots of different things to this slide. And your family probably won't look like this. So if we want to get rid of things, we simply have to just take our selector cursor, I guess, or arrow here, and just left-click on items. And once they show up highlighted like that, you can simply hit the backspace, or you can hit the delete button. You can also just left-click and draw a box around objects, and whichever objects are contained within that box will become highlighted when you let go of your left-click button. And again, you can hit backspace. I'm just getting rid of the great-grandparents information because you didn't have to use great-grandparents. If you did, you can leave that there. Okay. So likewise, you can, let's say that, this aunt or aunt and uncle didn't have this many children, and we want to get rid of some of them. It's easy to do. Just select the ones that you want to get rid of and the consequent information. And we can also shrink this line down. So I can grab at the end and do our new intersection. I'm like, oh, there it is. We've shrunken that family down. If you need to add something, all you have to do is simply extend a line. Let's see what's happening. They have these lines connected. So I'm going to just delete that. And I'm going to borrow a line from another place. I'm going to hit Control-C, Control-V, or you can right-click. And I'm going to extend this line out. And we need some more drop-down lines. So I'm going to take this line, Control-C, Control-V. Drop-down line for this individual. Oops, kind of in the wrong spot there. And you can move it up by the arrow key. And let's say we want to add another boy to this family. I'm going to highlight this. And if I want to highlight the connecting line as well, I can hold this shift button and select that. I'm going to hit Control-C, copy, Control-V for pasting. I'm going to drag that on over and connect it right there. Now you can see it's a little bit high, so I'm just going to bring it down. And I'm going to extend my little line a little bit higher. There we go. Now you can see that our letters are pretty big. These letters that I have here stand for left-handed or right-handedness. You're going to have to go up and change the trait for whatever you have. Let's say you're going to do tongue curling. And let's say your side of the family, if you're doing your dad's, let's say his name is Smith. You'll change that to whatever it is there. And then we're going to go in, well, let's say you know how to subtract things, you know how to add things, but let's say that this is just not large enough for you. It's taking up too much space and you need more room for family members. What we can do is we can highlight everything by hitting the Control, the CTRL key and A, Control A, and that will highlight absolutely everything. I want everything to be shrunken down with the exception to my title here. So I'm going to hold my Control button and I'm going to click the title. And you can see that the highlight has now gone away. And what I'm going to do now is group all of this stuff as one big object. So anywhere, I can basically do this anywhere, but I have to be over an object and show the 4 directional arrows. I'm going to right click and go to group. And then I'm going to go over and select group. You can see now that all of this is just one object. So I'm going to shrink it all at the same time by clicking, left clicking on the corner and dragging it down. I can see if I go like this, it'll really distort my picture. I want to have, when I'm done, I want my square to look like a square that has equal size sides and my circle to not be distorted. So I'm going to say that probably, let's see how it looks. Pretty good squares and circles don't seem very distorted. Now you can see that it didn't shrink the font size down, unfortunately. We'll have to go back and change that. But I'm going to move this object over and give us some more room to work with. We can always take these parts and move them around, move them up here, shrink them down later. So now that I'm ready to use parts of this, it's one solid object, so I want to change it back to individual objects. So I right-click on the outer border, go to Group, and go to Ungroup. And there we have all the parts. I'll left-click off to the side, and now I can select individual parts. So let's say that we wanted to also do my mother's side. And here would be my mother, and here would be me, and then I would hypothetically have a sister here. So you can select any part from this that already pre-exists, and you can utilize that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use, let me enlarge this so you can see what I'm doing here a little bit better. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to select my shift button drop downs. Control C and Control V. And now I have, back out here, I have a copy of that. So I'm going to go over the top of that, and I'm going to bring that over, and you can see it's too big right now. So I can move things around. I can move this over. I can shrink this. Actually, I'm going to move this one out of the way for the time being, and I can shrink this down. I can move this one over, and I can bring this one back up. And there's a sibling line from my mother, and you might have to make some small adjustments. If you want to enlarge your screen very quickly, what you do is you hold the Control button down and you hit the roll bar, and that's one way. And if I roll it back the other way, it actually increases the size so that I can work with some smaller parts and clean stuff up. You can see that it's a little bit off here. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to fix that or not. Yeah, it's going to have a little overhang, that's all right. So now if I want to add some brothers and sisters, I simply have to just copy the shapes that I already have. Let's say that there's a brother my mom has. Oops, I moved the wrong thing, so I'm hit. What I really want is a shape here, so I'm going to bring that over in position. Right. So that's how you add. I'm going to roll back out so you can see the full slide again. And that is how you add parts to this, and you can basically select any part of this, copy it, and paste it into position. Right? We don't really need these here anymore. Notice that the L's and R's are really big, and they take up too much space. Remember, there's 2 parts that we want to have underneath each shape. One is going to be the phenotype, or how the person looks, and you will use your data sheet for that. And the space that's just above the darkened line here will be your genotype. So we're going to go in, I'm going to just enlarge it so you can, again, see what I'm doing a little bit better here. And I'm going to shrink this down. And also, I'm doing tongue curling. So let's say that I know that my grandfather on this side well, let's say he can curl his tongue. So we'll put a curler, just the C for curling. All right, and then we'll put an NT for not being able to curl. So I got to shrink this down. I'm going to click the outside of the box. I'm going to change my font size here to maybe a 9 would be appropriate. I'm going to move it just into position so it's just, I can use my arrow keys also to move this. It's just underneath the square. And there we go. So let's say that my grandmother can't tongue curl. So I'm going to put NC. I'm going to shrink this down to a 9. And voila. I'm going to move that a little bit better into position. And there we have it. So instead of going through and doing that over the top of all the R's and the L's, I would just get rid of it completely by clicking on the outside of the box. Then you can just go back to what you had done, hit Control C, then Control V, or right click and copy and paste, and you can move those into position as you need them. This is the part that you're going to be able to fill out using your data sheet. Right? I'll back up so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to change all of that. If I want to move this back up into position or put this up here, you can rearrange this stuff just by selecting everything, by drawing a box around it, and use your arrow keys to move it up and out of the way. And you can see that my OR here got kind of messed up, so I could change the size of that by just going up and changing the font. 9's a little bit small, but you're going to choose a font that's appropriate for what you're doing. I can move this over a little bit. I can move my equal sign over a little bit and fix it up, make it look nice. Remember to insert some information here. I'm going to bring this one up too as well. So we got this box, my shift button, and this box. So I can bring this up and put it up right underneath. So then you're going to enter some information. If you want to enter words, you click the Insert tab up here and go to Text Box. And you just click in an open area and you start typing. So the open shapes will be, let's say that tongue curling is dominant, we'll say to tongue. And I'll put that right across from the non-shaded. Let's say that hypothetically, and I don't know this for sure, that I'm going to copy this and paste it down here. And let's say the recessive trait is the inability to tongue curl. Can't tongue curl. Whatever you want to put in there. So that we see, and I'd have to fix this up so I can see the word or and so forth, but you get the idea. And then within this, I'm going to highlight the entire underlined portion, and H would be the dominant allele for tongue curling. And H would be the recessive allele for something like that. All right. So you're going to have this, and you can move stuff around to get it into a good position. If you want to make your title larger, you click on the outside, and you can increase the size to whatever you feel is appropriate. All right. And then when this is all done, if you're not happy with the size, again, you can regroup the entire thing, and by right-clicking on an area and go to group. And you can make the whole thing larger, you can make it smaller. Fill the space though. Use all the space that you are afforded so that this looks nice and I can read everything. You can see that it did something weird with the letters here, so you want to try not to resize it too often because it's going to kind of mess stuff up. So we'll put this back into position. I would use this more for just repositioning everything. You can see I'm not done here. You have to go in, and then eventually you're going to type in the genotype. So if I want to type in a genotype, I go to Insert. I go to my text box. I click it near where I want to. Let's say I'm going to use T's. If he has the ability to curl his tongue, if that's dominant, we're going to have at least one T. Maybe by looking at the clues, I know that he is heterozygous. And then we're going to put that into position. And again, if that's too big, we can certainly change the size. But it looks like that's going to fit okay. Right, so in general, this is how you do it. And this would be one of them, one trait. You're going to pick another characteristic or trait for this slide. What I would recommend doing, though, is just taking what you've done here and not even use this slide. So we're going to right-click and we're going to delete it. Just delete that slide. We're going to go back to this one, and I'm going to right-click, copy, and I'm going to click below it. I'm going to right-click paste. I'm going to select the middle one, and it's made a duplicate of this. So once you do all the work for your first one with your entire family in here, you don't have to rearrange stuff again. You just simply copy the slide you had, paste it, but you do have to go back in and change all the characteristics, and you have to change your genome types. You have to change, again, this would be a capital T here, lowercase t. Make sure that you've made all those appropriate changes. You will have to go back in for the other one and change the appropriate information. It will no longer be temporally, it'll be a different trait. And all of this information will change here. You use a different letter, you'll have a different key up here for this and so forth. So in general, that's how to do this. So it's going to take you the most amount of time to originally set up your family structure here. Once you have that done, though, and you plug in everything and get it arranged into size, you get your first one done, you just copy it, paste it as a new slide, and then go in and just highlight over and change information. So there you have it.